Welcome to Open House Edition 23 by DDAG. I am Mugdha, your host for the show. In this edition of Open House, we are going to talk about the mining sector, specifically the legislative reforms which have recently taken place in the mining sector. Mines and Minerals Act 1957, which has been amended recently in 2015, and the National Mineral Policy that was drafted in 2009. To know about these reforms, we have invited a very eminent person from the mining industry, Shri R.K. Sinha. I'll give a brief introduction of Mr. Sinha to our viewers. Shri R.K. Sinha obtained B.Tech in mining engineering from IIT Dhanbad in 1979. After working in coal mining sector briefly, he joined Indian Bureau of Mines in 1981. He superannuated as Controller General from Indian Bureau of Mines in the year 2017. At present, he is a member of Technical Cum Cost Committee of NMET, constituted by the Ministry of Mines, Government of India. While steering IBM, Mr. Sinha was instrumental in introducing star ratings to mines, first such system in the mining world. He also initiated a mining surveillance system to curb illegal mining. He also initiated the project DAMM, that is Drone Application for Mine Management at Iron Ore Mine in Jharkhand. He was a member of Joint Indo-Canadian and Indo-Australia Joint Working Group set up on mines and mineral sector. Shri Sinha was a member of the committee constituted by the Minister of Mines to review the recommendations of National Mineral Policy 2008 and involved in drafting of legislation pursuant to Amendment of Mines and Minerals Act 1957 in the year 2015. He was also actively involved in drafting of National Mineral Policy 2019. With this brief introduction, I now request Mr. R.K. Sinha to take the stage and start with his presentation. Thank you.
Amount of compensation was made. The compensation for land and mine infrastructure in respect to Serial 1 mines deposited with the nominated authority to be dispersed in respect of secured creditors and then to prior allottees. So some list out was done how the dispersal is to be made by the nominated authority. Then comes the amendment in the year 2021. In order to increase production and time-bound operationalization of mines, as well as to maintain continuity of mining operation after change of lessee, and increase the pace of exploration and auction of mineral resources, as well as employment and investment in the mineral sector, and to harness the potential of mineral sector. In order to meet the above objectives, MMDR Act 1957 was further amended in the year 2021. Because you might have seen that even though auction has taken place, but blocks were not coming on the production stream because of so many clearances which used to be taken. In 2020, 2 years time period was given, which was found to be insufficient to get all the clearances to start the operation. Then, in spite of NERP, non-exclusive reconnaissance permit, being allowed to further graduate to PL or ML if they have carried out the exploration, but nobody was coming forward to take NERP also. So in order to overcome all these problems, further rule was amended. And the first point was removal of restriction on end use of mineral, that the concept of captive and non-captive mines was done away. It provided a level playing field as to both the operators, because there has been a demand from the mining industry to have level playing field, as it was considered captive owners were getting the raw material at a much subsidized rate. And to augment the supply of mineral, to stabilize the prices and participation in auction of mineral, more and more participation, this end use restriction was removed, and section 10b6 was amended. It has been mentioned that no mines shall be reserved for captive purpose. Accordingly, mineral auction rule was also amended by Mineral Auction Second Amendment Rule 2020, and it has been stated that the state government shall not reserve any mine for captive purpose or for any specific end use or partial specific end use in the auction. So now the concept of captive and non-captive has been done away. Then comes the sale of mineral by captive mines, because problems were being faced by the captive miners, that the mineral which they were unable to use in their plant, in their linked plant, were getting accumulated. And we can say in some of the mines in Jharkhand area, the iron ore fines to the tune of million of tons were getting accumulated, inferior grade which the plant was not able to use was getting accumulated. So in order to remove this issue, the government allowed sale of mineral to the extent of 50% of the total production after meeting the requirement of the plant. So rule in a new section was inserted, and it has been incorporated, where mineral is used for a captive purpose, sale of mineral up to 50% of the total mineral produced in a year after meeting the requirement of the end-use plant, in such manner as may be prescribed by the central government, and on payment of such additional fees as amount is specified in the 6th schedule. So if you want to sell a mineral from a mine linked to a plant, you have to pay an additional amount, and that amount has been specified in the 6th schedule. Accordingly, mineral auction rule has also been amended in the year 2021. And mineral concession rule has also been amended. It allows existing captive mines, including captive coal mines, to sell the mineral up to 50%. It will ensure optimal mining of mineral resources, economics of the scale of operation, and increase in production and supply of mineral to stabilize the market. But it will generate additional revenue to the state government, because if you go through this 6th schedule, you will find for iron ore lumps, you have to pay 250% of the royalty, an additional amount. For fines, it is 150%. For manganese ore, it is up to the tune of 500% of the royalty. For coal, for different grades of coal, it varies from 50% to 250%. So it will be an additional source of revenue to the state government. Then transfer of statutory clearances, because in 2020 amendment, this statutory clearances, approvals, valid rights, licenses were extended for a period of 2 years, but even this 2 year was found to be insufficient. So it has been made perpetual. in the sense that all valid approvals clearances granted to a lessee in respect of mine to remain valid even after expiry or termination of lease, and such clearances to be transferred and vested to successful bidder of the mining lease. In fact, the mine has been defined under Section C, and now mine and lessee has been deleted. A mine will continue to remain a mine till exhaustion of its mineable mineral reserve, and a mine may have different owners during different time periods from grant of first mining lease till exhaustion of mineral resources. Accordingly, subordinate legislation of mineral other than atomic, hydro, and energy mineral concession rules has been amended because it will avoids the repetitive and redundant process of obtaining clearances again and again for the same mine. It will further lead to continuity of mining operation even in case of change of lessee. So thus mine has been delinked from the lessee. But whether the mine has got a legal status of legal entity, that has to be seen. But any approval, etc., will continue obtained in respect of mine will continue till the exhaustion of the mineable mineral reserve. If you want to change the production level, if you want to go for changes, then you have to seek fresh clearances. Then rights of certain existing concession holders. As we know that when the act was amended in the year 2015, there was a very two important provisions were met under section 10A2B and 10A2C to protect the rights of the existing RP holders, existing PL holders, as well as those projects for which letter of intents were issued by the state government or prior approval were granted by the central government. But with this new provision 10A2D, these rights have been withdrawn. In fact, section 10A2C, there was a sunset clause that within 2 years from the date of implementation of the 2015 Act, it was supposed they will obtain all the clearances, approvals, rights from different authorities, and there were about 200 such cases. And similarly, in section 10A2B, there were 572 cases comprising 179 RP and 393 PL. They were also supposed to have the right to get the RP will get the PL and PL holder will get the mining license. But in 2021, it was felt that even after lapse of 5 years, if they have not graduated either to the level of mining lease, it should be deleted. In fact, the government wanted to close the pending cases of non-auction concession, which have not resulted in grant of mining leases, despite considerable passage of time. As existence of these cases were considered to be antagonistic to the auction regime, and it was thought that it will bring about 500 mining blocks for the auction. Though it's likely to give a dent to the confidence of the investors, which I think I will take up in the subsequent slides. Then extension of leases to the government companies. Because the government companies where it was mentioned in the rule that the state government may renew the concession on the premium to be decided by them. So the government has now clarified the premium is to be fixed, and it is already mentioned in Schedule 5. So based on this premium, leases are to be renewed by the state government because there were certain issues cropped up during the renewal of government companies lease in certain state. So now it has been clarified how much is to be paid by the government company. Then transfer of concession. Previously, the transfer of non-auction leases were prohibited. So now it has been withdrawn, and now so that investors can come and even can take the non-auction mining leases. Then allocation of mines with expired leases. There were instances when the lease was executed pursuant to the auction has been terminated, or lease has not been executed pursuant to the auction. In such cases, the state governments may grant the lease to a government company with the consent of the central government for a period of 10 years, because it happened in the state, in the case of Odisha, some of the leases which were successfully auctioned, but it was not executed. So in order to overcome the disruption in supply of the mineral material, as well as stabilize the price of the mineral, it was thought that the state government will grant the lease to the government company so that production is not disrupted. It is just a short-term measure to meet the disruption in the supply. Then auction by central government in certain cases. Wherever the state has not successfully completed the auction for the purpose of grant of mining lease, or upon completion of such auction, the mining lease or letter of intent for grant of mining lease has been terminated or lapsed, whatever with reasons, the central government may require a state to conduct and complete the auction or re-auction process within the stipulated time period. In case the state fails, then centers can step in. So this power can be exercised only by the central government when the state fails in to carry out the re-auction or auction within the stipulated time frame. And recently, the central government has notified designated officer for conducting auction by notification dated 16 December 2021. Then condition for lapse of mining leases. Mining lease to lapse if the lessee fails to undertake mining operation within 2 years, or the mining operation is discontinued for a period of 2 years continuously. In fact, the mining operation has been defined with the amendment in the Act in 2021, and now the word mining operation has been substituted with production and dispatch, because previously what was happening, even the lessees were carrying out some developmental work and they were not producing. So that was also coming under the umbrella of mining operation, and though mine remains with the lessee, but no production was taking place, and there was a scarcity of the material in the market. As such, it has been very clearly defined in 2021 Act that the state government will take action for lapsing such leases which do not operate the mines within 2 years after execution, and that means they have to go for production and dispatch of minerals. So accordingly, subordinate legislation, mineral concession rule, has also been amended in the year 2021. Then amendment of section 21, it's a very important amendment the government has done, because it has clarified what constitutes the illegal mining to a certain extent. Because an explanation to the section 21 has been inserted to clarify the scope of phrase that raising minerals without lawful authority used in this section. The explanation states that the expression raising, transporting, causing, or raise or transport any mineral without any lawful authority occurring in section 21 shall mean it is raising, transporting without prospecting license, mining lease, or composite license in or in contraventions of the rule made under section 23C. Because we are aware, when the illegal mining cases cropped up, then penalty was imposed even for violation of the other acts like Environment EP Act and other Act. But now it has been clarified, if any violation takes place, that will be confined to these rules framed under section 23C with respect to illegal mining. Then issue of direction regarding composition and utilization of the district mineral fund. District mineral foundation were introduced in the Act in 2015 to create a district level entity for welfare of mining affected person, to which contribution is to be made directly by the holders of mineral concession. As such, the state governments have already established around 6 district mineral foundation in 600 districts of the country, and the monthly contribution varies from 1,000 to 1,400 crores, and so far up to November 21, what I have the figure is around 56,000 crores have already accrued to this fund. But it was also found that transfer of fund from DMF to state level agency like Chief Minister's Relief Fund and other funds are taking place, and which defeats the very purpose of depositing the contribution and setting up of DMF, which was mainly to address the concern of the local people affected by the mining operation. So in order to curb such practices, the central government has issued the order on 12th July 2021 that no funds shall be transferred in any manner from district mineral foundation to the state exchequer or state level fund or chief minister's relief fund or any other fund. Similarly, the composition of the governing council or managing committee of the DMF was varying. So in April 2021, an order was issued by the central government to bring uniformity in the composition of district mineral foundation. Then, as we said, in the amendment was done in the section 9C that NMET, that National Mineral Exploration Trust, it has been made a non-profit autonomous body, and it has been stated that entities eligible under section 4A can get funding from NMET. You might have seen that a draft rule regarding the reimbursement of exploration expenditure rule 2022 has been brought out, and this purpose is to expedite the exploration for augmentation of mineral resources because 2% of the royalty accrues to this fund. Then National Non-Exclusive Reconnaissance Permit, Section 10C, even with the amendment of non-exclusive reconnaissance permit regime in 2020, nothing came out. Nobody was coming forward to take the NERP. So it has been now omitted with the 2021 amendment. So now Section 10C doesn't exist. Then time frame for grant of mining leases for the area reserved for government companies. Sorry. Some section has been incorporated wherein a time period of 5 years had been given to the state government to grant the leases to the government companies. Otherwise, it will be reverted back. It is basically to expedite the grant of lease so that production can be augmented by the government companies. Then restriction of grant of mineral concession in respect of atomic minerals. It says section 5.1 has been amended and it puts a restriction on grant of mineral concession in respect of part B, that's atomic mineral, to only government companies or corporation. So as such, wherever the threshold value is above the value prescribed by the central government in respect of atomic mineral, such minerals will be granted only to government companies or corporations. So no private entity can get atomic licenses for mining of atomic minerals. Then notification of private entities for exploration in order to incorporate, to have more and more private sector coming for exploration. Amendment has been made in section 4A because previously, if you note down, then it was there. Section 4A, nothing in this section shall apply to any prospecting operation undertaken by GSI, IBM, or such entity as notified by the central government. It has been now such an entity has been removed and it has been mentioned other entities, including private sector entity, that may be notified for this purpose by the central government. In August 2021, a guideline for notification of accredited private exploration agencies under the second provision to section 4A has been brought out. Now it has been stated that only accredited private exploration agencies will be notified by the central government, and this private sector has to apply to QCI NEBIT for getting accreditation. After accreditation, the central government may notify such agency to carry out exploration.
थोड़ा सा टाइम हो रहा है
तो I think another 2 slides only, just only 2 slides. So one is exploration, how to encourage. So these are the concerns and challenges, because as we know that our land area is around 3.28 million square kilometer. OGP is 0.7, but hardly 10% of the area has been explored. So we need to go for more exploration in an expeditious manner. Then auction of mineral block. This is another area of concern because of the impulsive and unsustainable bidding. So just the last slide I will show you. So this is so far 125 blocks so far has been auctioned. 44 mineral blocks are NIT is going on. So only 2 or 3 points just I will highlight over here, because some of the auction you will find is on a very high premium. Even the average premium is going more than 100%. So how a mining is sustainable with this such a high premium? So this is a point of concern, and it has to be either we have to revisit our auction policy, because for certain minerals we may have to think of auction cum evaluation process also in order to curb such practices. So with this, I will thank you for all the patience listening, and I may be excused for overshooting the time. Thank you very much.
Well, sir, we are quite in time. So far, we still have 10 more minutes to take queries and listen to the opinions of the participants. So the floor is open now for discussion. So participants are invited to express their views on the recent amendments, and discussion may be initiated.
I can see many senior people. Mr. Yamuna Singh is there, Pandey Sahib is there from former ADG GSI, Sharda Sahib is there, Mr. R.N. Mishra from DDAG is there, Mr. H.L. Arora, former Director Technical TSDC is there, Mr. Rajbal Singh is there, Mr. Imran Said, my former colleague from NHPC, is also here, and Mr. Ahmed is there. So I request all of them to ask any question or make any comment if they feel so. Yamuna Singh ji, you are a man from mineral industry, atomic mineral industry. So what is your take on?
I heard this threshold value has been changed for atomic minerals. So any information about this change in the threshold value?
No, threshold value has already been brought out. I mean, there has been certain changes in the threshold value, as I know, in respect of monazite sand, where thorium is there. Even now, thorium up to 0% has been made as an atomic mineral. So that's why you will find even the beach sand minerals, because beach sand minerals basically constitutes a suite of 7 minerals, where monazite is also there. So it has been brought under the purview of the atomic minerals. So for all, the value is already prescribed, that threshold value for different atomic minerals.
In beach sand, that monazite is one.
One of the constituents, because
Yeah.
rutile, ilmenite, sillimanite, zircon, leucoxene, and monazite. There are 7 actual minerals are there. So previously, all the private players were operating the beach sand minerals. There are a lot of issues came up. So wherever the monazite is found, and in monazite, even because the thorium is a source, wherefrom monazite is source wherefrom we get the thorium. So thorium, it has been made 0%. So all the monazite becomes the atomic minerals in that way.
Of course, thorium-free monazite we don't get.
Yeah. So most of the beach sand minerals comprises of monazite actually.
Most of them, yes.
Most of them.
Right.
So now, such concessions are to be granted to only government companies actually, or corporation.
So this mining is being done in this field. I think IREL is one.
Yeah.
Then Kerala Minerals and
KML is one. Yeah. Kerala Mines and Mineral Limited.
Yes, only these two are involved.
Yes, so far as government sector, but in the past, at least a dozen of private entities were there, which particularly in the Andhra coastal belt, Tamil Nadu coastal belt, and Kerala coastal belt. Some of the private entities were involved.
One more clarification you mentioned in the challenges. The government wants to encourage mineral exploration and mining.
Yes.
So, what are the hindrances? Why the government feels that there is a need to encourage? Government has already.
No, but exploration is now so far confined to a very smaller areas. Unless and until we explore much and more area, because our OGPA, that obvious geological potential area, is 0.57 million square kilometer. We have explored only 10% of the area. Unless and until we bring the private sector latest technology, it is a very difficult. But the problem was coming ki NERP non-exclusive reconnaissance permit, nobody was coming forward. Because why somebody should spend money and give it back the data to the government, which will again do the auction. That was always coming forward. The private sector wants, if we want to have to explore area, ultimately we should get right to mine it also. And one section, what I explained, that section 10(2)(d), that right of existing concession holders that has been taken away. It is also the people who have spent around more than 10 years in after getting the RP in bringing it to PL level, suddenly their rights have been taken away. So they also definitely it has given a dent to the in confidence of the investors. So unless and until we bring new technology, new private sector for exploration, it is a very difficult for only for the government sector to explore the area.
Yes, actually, Bandel is cited was one of the examples for a successful story and then not entering into the mining domain.
Yeah.
That is one of the widely cited example. But now I think composite license has been permitted.
So now composite license concept is there because now we have only two types of licenses. One is a composite, which is a prospecting cum mining license. Another is a mining license. Previously, we had three regimes. That was a reconnaissance permit, then PL cum ML, and mining license. So now RP has gone away. Now it's a composite license or mining lease. So for composite license, the rule has also been amended, that MEMC rule we call Mines and Evidence of Mineral Content Rule 2015, where even at the G4 level, somebody can go for auction of the composite licenses.
Thank you, sir, for
Thank you.
lucid
Thank you, sir.
explanation.
Thank you, Yamuna Singh ji, for asking very valid question. I am sure that our audience must be benefited with your questions and certainly answers by Sinha sir. Anybody else would like to say something?
I would like to compliment Mr. Sinha for a very lucid lecture, which has explained the nitty-gritties of the National Mineral Policy and the Amendment Acts in mining. I have one query and one suggestion also. And it is that, as you have said, Sinha sir, that we have explored only 10% area, OGP area. It is not only the aerial extent, but we must go deeper, particularly for metal exploration, base metal explorations, because we have got a limitation so far of 300 meters going down. But these base metals are generally found at much deeper levels, not only in India, but in other countries also. So there is a need to explore at deeper levels, which I think we are lacking. So somehow this factor has to come in if we have to increase our mineral wealth.
Yes, thank you, sir. I think I fully agree with you. We have to go much deeper and deeper. If you have seen my last slide, there I want to show if you see only copper, only two blocks have been auctioned so far, gold only 6 and diamond only 2. Otherwise, all surface minerals out of this 125. So even in sorry, even in NMET, we are not getting the blocks, base metal blocks for taking up the exploration. So that everybody is interested to find out the mineral only on the superficial mineral, that iron, manganese, bauxite, limestone, etc. Hardly people are taking up any exploration project to go for deep-seated mineral, which is very much required. So I fully agree with your view, sir.
Thank you, sir. I now request Dr. Dhawan. Okay, we have, excuse me, sir, we have one more hand raised.
There is one hand raised.
Yeah.
There is one question, I think Mr. Arul Prakash.
Yes, that's what I was.
So let us give him
invite him.
Please ask your question, Mr. Arul. Hand was raised, but I think now
I think he has left the meeting.
Okay, so please continue with your.
So I now request Dr. Dhawan to sum up today's lecture and give his concluding remarks.
Thank you very much, Sinha sir, for giving us such a comprehensive view on the mineral sector reforms and the problems in the value chain in mining sector. Mr. Sinha is the best person to explain it because as he told us that MMDR Act was comprehensively amended in 2015. Incidentally, Mr. Sinha and myself both were at that time heading two important organizations. I was in MECL and Mr. Sinha was in IBM. So he himself was instrumental in revising and framing several rules under the amended act. In my view, these were long pending reforms which were rather overdue and industry was waiting. But unfortunately, after the parliament passed this amendment in March 2015, these were not taken with cheer by the industry, and they had particularly not accepted in this concept of introduction of auctioning of mineral blocks. So as Mr. Sinha has explained that these are still some bottlenecks, and since then, therefore, the government has perhaps tried their level best to address problems being faced by the industry and their observations. And they have amended the act several times. Almost every year, government has come up with new amendments, but still there are challenges, and a lot more has to be done to bring cheers to the people working in mining industry, because whatever auctions have taken place till now 125 blocks have been auctioned, and most of them are for surface minerals like limestone, iron, bauxite, like this. So if this continues, although it has given a lot of revenue to the government, but somehow the sector is not flourishing as far as we can see. And therefore, I would say that a lot more has to be done to attract investment in the mining sector. Thank you very much, Sinha sir, for giving us time and taking this session at our platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dhawan. I would once again like to thank Mr. Sinha on behalf of DDAG and all the participants here for educating us regarding these reforms in the mining sector. So that's all for today, folks, and we'll see you in the next edition of Open House. And you can always watch these videos on our YouTube channel. And you can also subscribe our channel, thedhawanacademy.com. And that's all. Stay in touch and see you in the next session of Open House. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.